The prosecuting attorney may now make an opening statement. The defendant's attorney may make an opening statement or may wait until later to do so. What is said in the opening statement is not evidence. The opening statement is simply the attorney's opportunity to tell you what they expect the evidence to show. And State, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, the counsel, and Your Honor, may I move the podium just a little bit this way because I'm going to be using the screen. I'm not
I
sure.
think that's fine.
The jury can see. Can you all see now? The screen? A little bit more?
There's also a screen right there.
Okay.
Right here again.
Yeah. Can everyone hear me? I get a little bit soft-spoken, and so if my voice trails off, please just raise your hand and say, I can't hear you. Appreciate it. Once again, my name is John Duran. I'm an Assistant Attorney General along with Beer Staley. And we want to thank you for your time and your patience over the next week or so as we go through this, and your attention.
Sir, I'm doing a hard time hearing you. Somebody shut your wife. Okay. Sir, there's a very loud noise on your phone. I can't hear. Okay. Let me call you right back to see if I can get a better connection. I'm getting off what you started now. Hello, Mike. What's going on? Somebody shot my wife. Please call the police. Did it come through the wall? How did it happen? No, she was driving her car out of the garage. I saw a Jeep. She going to the gym. She was leaving, and when I heard my car honking, I went out there and there was a Jeep that took off. I didn't know what was going on, but I can't get in the car because it stopped. I'm in the car. All right, so is it in the garage? You're in the driveway? It's in the driveway, yeah. Okay. So you send the police and I've got a permit. You saw a Jeep that came through? Or? It was a Jeep because I heard the honk of the car. So I went outside to see what had happened. I thought, well, maybe she forgot something. And when I got out there was a Jeep backing up and took off really fast around the corner. What color was it? And it looks like a brown Jeep to me,
Okay.
but that's all I could see.
And did it go to the left or the right when it left out of your street?
It went out to the left.
To the
Got
left?
on,
Okay.
yeah. Please hurry up, okay?
Is she awake?
No, I can only,
Do you have the key to that vehicle?
I think I'm in the look for one, yeah. I'll look for one. I think there's another key to it.
Okay, what color is
The
it?
car's still running. It's a 2005 Cadillac.
What color is it?
It's black. Please hurry
And
up.
yeah, they're coming. I'm just getting more information for them while they're driving. And is the vehicle in the driveway or in the garage?
It's in the driveway. It's in the driveway. It's looking for the key.
Was she moving at all or?
She's not moving at all.
Okay, she slumped forward, backwards?
She slumped, it looks like she slumped backwards,
Okay.
or to the side anyway. To the side. That's all I can see.
Where was she bleeding at?
I can't tell. It's too dark for me to be able to tell.
Okay. Do you have something?
Should I open the car? Should I open the car?
Yes.
I found the key.
Yes, see if she's breathing. See if she's
Okay.
breathing, see if she's got a pulse.
Okay.
Is there a bullet hole in the window
Oh,
or the door?
I can't open the door. Oh my
Try the
God.
other door. Try the other door. Did you hear a gunshot? Why do you think she was
Well, I
shot?
can see the bullet, the hole in the window. Oh,
There's a-
and I can't open it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my God. See, look.
Okay, we're coming. What side is the bullet in?
It's the other side. Oh, no. Oh, jeez. Oh,
What's your wife?
she's 55.
55? What is her name?
55, Jackson.
What's the one?
Jackson Vigil. Jackson Vigil. Yeah.
How do you
Come on,
spell her name?
Vigil. Jacqueline.
Okay.
She's Vigil.
Okay. What is your name?
My name is Sandy. He's her husband.
Sam. Okay. So did you hear any gunshots?
I didn't hear anything. She went out. She said, I'm going to the gym. She goes to the gym every day. And I said, fine, I kissed her and she went out the door. And actually, I opened the garage door for her and then the car door because she had some, she eats a lot of fruits and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then she said, okay, I'll see you later. So I walked back in the door. And after a little bit, maybe 30 seconds or so, I heard the car honk.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, well, maybe she forgot something, wants me to get you some water or something. I went out there, and I saw this Jeep on the back of the car.
Uh-huh.
And when they saw me, they took off, or, I couldn't see if there were two, I don't know, maybe.
When they saw you come out, they took off? Was there somebody
They
out
took
of the
off.
vehicle?
No, there was nobody out of the vehicle, so I'm thinking that they probably shot from inside the vehicle, I would think. And there's a big bullet hole there.
Okay.
Please hurry up.
Yes, they're almost there. Stay on the line with me, okay?
Mhm. I can't find the key to open the door.
Okay. Do you have something that maybe break the glass?
I guess I could.
Can you remember anything else about that Jeep? It was brown. Did it have a soft top or hard top?
Yeah, it was, I think it was one of those, Cherokee, looked to me like a Cherokee.
Okay.
It's a hard top, it wasn't.
Okay.
You know.
Like a four-door?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please hurry up.
Yeah, they're almost there. They're almost there. They're almost there. Any bumpers stickers or damage on that Jeep?
Why would anybody do this?
Sam, listen to me. Listen to me. Anything you can remember about that Jeep so we can try and find them. Any bumper stickers, vehicle damage, rims?
I couldn't see that. No, it's too dark.
Okay.
Too dark. Oh, come on. Come on.
They're almost there. Are you outside? Are you on that vehicle? Could you tell if she was breathing? Could you just look at her? Could you tell if she was breathing? Like, was her chest rising?
I don't think she's breathing. I don't think she's out there on the car. Oh, come on, hurry up, man.
They're almost there, friend.
Oh, God, I want to do that. Oh, no. Oh, this is damn.
Yeah, I've got everybody coming. The officers are listening. We've been on the phone 7 minutes, Sam. We've been on the phone 7 minutes. All the officers are about there, okay? Do you want to just go outside and wait for the officers?
I got the doors open, but I can see her moving.
Okay.
Oh, man. Why would you? No. Oh, my God. Thank you for coming.
Is that the officer saying?
My wife. No, I can't look at my wife. She is. The window on the side here will shut one of.
You guys own any firearms?
Is anyone else inside the house? No, there's one down. Nobody else?
You guys own firearms?
No.
Okay.
I can't find the keys to the car. Okay. I'm in favor of staying over here for right now, all right? No, can we get some help for my wife?
Sam, do you hear me?
Why would somebody do that? Why?
What's she going for?
She was going to the jail.
Any further shot?
I didn't hear the shot, but I heard she hooked the horn or somehow, I didn't know, so I came out, and I thought that she.
You can hang up this weekend, you don't get.
The defendant, Luis Talamantes-Romero, on the early morning of November 19th, 2019, walked up the driveway of Sam and Jackie Vigil. He did so with the intention to commit harm, commit a burglary, a theft. He likely saw an opportunity. It was dark, and he murdered Jackie in cold blood. This happened at 2116 Corte de Loma Northwest. It's off of Unser and Tierra Pintada. If you go a little bit north of I-40 off of Unser, it's a cute little neighborhood just off of Unser. This is their home. This was taken in the early morning hours after police had arrived and discovered what had happened. As you can see, there are two black Cadillacs in the driveway, and the evidence will show that Jackie was in the Cadillac that seems, if you look at the image, appears to be chalked, or the wheels are supported because the vehicle was still on and in reverse when police arrived, and they couldn't quite get into that vehicle. They needed it to be rolling, so. She was backing out of her driveway, just as we heard on the 911 call. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a case of not what happened, because we know what happened. Jackie was murdered. But it's a case of who did it. Who committed this murder? And the reason I played that 911 call for you is because the evidence will show that Sam was able to at least see the vehicle that was involved in this case. And that vehicle, the evidence will show, was Luis Talamantes-Romero's vehicle. Luis Talamantes-Romero was driving around Albuquerque in the early morning hours of November 19th, 2019, with an individual named Isaac Ramirez. They were joyriding, they were screwing around, up to no good. They first went to the Mesa Ridge Apartments, which are off of Ladera and Sequoia in northwest Albuquerque. And we'll show you a map in a second, but it is not very far away from the neighborhood at Las Lomitas. This is essentially, if you're familiar with the west side, off of Ladera and Sequoia, where the old John Brooks used to be. There's a lot of apartments over there. There's some storage areas over there. And when they were at that Mesa Ridge apartment area, they broke into and stole some items from a Cadillac Escalade that was parked at those apartments. You're going to hear from David Castro Aragon and Michaela Gonzalez, who were the owners of that Escalade. They're going to tell you that they heard a noise outside of their apartment. They lived on the second floor, and they heard somebody breaking in. When they looked out, they went to the balcony and saw Talamantes in that same Jeep, with somebody in the driver's seat of that Jeep while Talamantes was out and rummaging through their Escalade. When they got Talamantes' attention, "Oh, hey, what are you doing?" Talamantes said, "Dame el cohete, give me my gun." He commanded that of Isaac, who was in the car. He pulled a gun, and they'll tell you, both David and Michaela will tell you they saw a gun. No shots were fired. They went back inside, and they locked themselves in a room away from that balcony for safety and called 911. Fortunately, and you'll see this, the APD officers who responded to Sam's scene and who are now knowledgeable about this Jeep put two and two together and were able to get surveillance video from the apartment complex at Mesa Ridge. And this is the Jeep that they were able to capture near David and Michaela's home. You'll notice it's a brown or gold Jeep Cherokee with a sanded down front fender. Very similar to what you heard on the 911 call. But it doesn't end there. Talamantes-Romero and Isaac took off as well. And they took a joyride through Albuquerque with Talamantes-Romero driving. You'll hear that he went down Coors from there and caught I-40, went into the city, went east. So if you see that illustration there, you'll hear testimony that that's likely the route that they took. I'll play that again. Down Coors, onto that on-ramp over there. They drove around the town for a bit, and then they came back to the west side. Eventually they get back onto Coors, northbound this time, from I-40, and you'll hear testimony that Talamantes-Romero was driving like a crazy person. He's just very erratic, very fast, nearly out of control. and they make a turn onto Quail Road. I'll re-illustrate that for you. Now again, if you're familiar with the west side, if you've ever been over there on that side on Coors, and you exit on Coors that way, there's a bridge that you come down off of as you head northbound, and you turn onto Quail Road, which gets you into essentially that Home Depot area. There's a gas station on one side, and then the Home Depot, or the back side of the Home Depot on the other. They go into that turn, and they go into that turn so erratically and so out of control that it's at that point that Talamantes-Romero slams into a curb and cracks the rim of the Jeep. Now you'll hear from Isaac, he'll testify probably today, that it didn't quite pop the tire, but it certainly damaged the wheels sufficiently. And so now they're driving around on essentially a debilitated vehicle. This is the rim. And you'll notice a significant crack all around near there where the tire meets the rim. So what are we going to do if we're Talamantes-Romero? Well, we're going to get a new rim. And so they then travel to another set of apartments. To apartments on 1919 Ladera. These are the Rio Volcan apartments. And I skip the slide. There, and you'll hear from this person too, Kayla Smith, they stole a rim off of her Jeep, which happened to be parked at those apartments. So we believe that really there's only a couple ways to get to those apartments based on where it's located. And if you're not familiar, 1919 Ladera is essentially off of Unser and Ladera. So there's like a neighborhood Walmart that they've recently built there. There's a storage facility, and then a little bit northeast of that are the Rio Volcan apartments where Kayla Smith lived. And that's where they stole her wheel, because they needed a wheel. So they make it to those apartments right there. And from there, after they take that wheel and take off the old wheel, they throw it in the back of the Jeep. Luis puts the new wheel on. And at that point is when they go to Las Lomitas, our little neighborhood. And that's off Unser and Tierra Pintada. It's maybe a mile away from where we're at 1919 Ladera. So you go down Ladera a little ways, you turn right, you go to Tierra Pintada, where there's the Walgreens, there's like a Sonic, and then on the other side is neighborhoods, like to the west, so they turn west. They go into Tierra Pintada, take another left, and now they're in the neighborhood of Las Lomitas. There, it's a subdivision with lots of cul-de-sacs and weird little roads to keep people out, right? It's for neighbors and really not anybody else, but they get lost. And they turn down the road behind Sam and Jackie V. Hill's house and stop. And at that point, Luis tells Isaac, throw the tire out. So Isaac does what he's told. He chucks the tire out the back of the vehicle. And that's where it's found later by law enforcement. So if you look here, this is Sam and Jackie's house, this two-story. This is our tire. This is the road that gets you to their house. And that's 2116 Corte de Loma. Sam and Jackie's residence. Sam will tell you they've lived there since it was brand new. They had the house built in like 94-ish. They watched their boys grow up there, and they lived there since that time. There we are. So that's Sam and Jackie's house, and as you see, it's a cul-de-sac, and that's going to be very telling and important as these facts go, and as you take them during the course of this trial. Jackie Vigil lived here. Their driveway is here, just to orient you. These are their neighbors, and they're the corner house. This is the road where the tire was. Y'all follow? Jackie was backing out of her driveway to go to the gym when she was murdered. She had her gym clothes on, she had a little hat. She was eating fruit. She had a little glove on because she didn't want to get all sticky. She was a very particular person. And she was murdered. Now, as I started our conversation, I told you this is not a matter of what happened, because we can see what happened. This is a matter of who did it. And not only will you hear from Isaac Ramirez, who's going to tell you exactly what happened, and Carla Aguirre, who I'll bring up later, who's going to tell you what happened, and Sam Vigil, who's going to talk in just a minute. But the defendant left a key piece of evidence there as well. A piece of physical evidence that's going to be very important. A shell casing in the garage. As you can see these images, that's the casing there on the concrete. And as you can see there, it's a few feet in from the garage where it came to rest. It's denoted by that evidence marker, that yellow cone that you can see in there. I want you to put a pin in that for a minute and bear with me, because I'm going to continue with Luis's and Isaac's adventure. They go to Luis's cousin's house, Noe, and Noe's girlfriend, Gentry. And there he spoke to them about what had happened, what he had done. From there, they took the Jeep to 437, 438 Pacific. It's a dirt lot where his sister, Elizabeth Talamantes, lives. And as there, they changed the wheels, removed the roof rack, took off the hood and the front fenders, essentially modifying the vehicle or making it seem, or at least trying to make it seem unrecognizable. You'll see images of that. However, for all those efforts, besides the Jeep, which in and of itself is a huge piece of evidence, they left another crucial piece of evidence in the dirt. There it is. There was a shell casing found by police when they executed the search of the vehicle. And that shell casing was just a few feet away from where that Jeep was. So you see the marker very close up. That marker is here on this image, just to the left of the Jeep. Put a pin in that for just a minute, if you will. While at the Pacific address, Luis confessed his crime to his sister Elizabeth and her friend Carla Aguirre, who you're going to hear from. Meanwhile, after the murder, police also intercepted jail calls between Luis Talamantes and his nephew Eric Baron, who was in jail at the time. So they made a call to Eric, who was in jail, and all those calls are recorded. Talamantes-Romero tells him, I fucked up, pardon my French. I didn't even know her. And they kept talking about keeping that fool's mouth shut, referring to Isaac Ramirez, and these are all in Spanish. Talamantes-Romero then begins crying. I don't think for Jackie, I think for himself. So then after that, they make the decision to flee. We have a road trip to San Antonio, Texas. Along the way, you'll hear testimony from Carla that they disassembled the gun that was used. The gun, by the way, is a .40 caliber. And you'll hear from a firearm and tool marks expert who did an analysis on the two casings and made conclusions that the two casings must have come from a very specific gun based on process of elimination. But that gun was disassembled and chucked out along the way somewhere between New Mexico and Texas, or both. Here we are. It's a road trip selfie. That's Luis Talamantes-Romero in the back seat. Elizabeth Talamantes is the woman in the, well, they both have blue shirts. It's the woman with the medal on her face. And then Carla Aguirre is the one who appears to maybe be taking the picture. A little bit lower to the right. Ultimately, there would be a comparison done. So let's get back to that. The casing found in Sam and Jackie's garage and the casing found at Elizabeth Talamantes' dirt parking area. These two casings, right? Oops. There we go. They're a match. They came from the same gun. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of witnesses. Each witness brings their own piece to the puzzle, if you will. They're going to tell you bits and pieces of how this story goes, how the facts played out. You're going to first hear from Sam Vigil. We've already heard his 911. We'll hear it again as evidence. He'll tell you what he saw that morning. He'll tell you a little bit about Jackie's routine. He'll tell you where they lived. And he'll tell you how his wife was murdered senselessly. He'll also tell you that he's never met Isaac Ramirez. Isaac Ramirez is going to testify also. He's going to tell you about the whole thing because he was the passenger with Luis Talamantes-Romero the whole time. And he's likely the subject of conversation in those jail calls about staying quiet. He's also going to tell you that he has no idea, he's never met Sam Vigil. Yet, their stories align. Sam will tell you, and as you heard on the 911 call, that Jeep backed right to the back of Jackie's Cadillac. And he'll testify to that, so you don't have to just rely upon what you just heard. That's just a preview of things to come. But he'll testify that that Jeep was essentially perpendicular to her vehicle, not allowing her to leave, which thereby constituted Luis's ability to go and try to commit this robbery and murder. Isaac's going to tell you the same thing. He's going to say exactly how they parked. And not only is he going to tell you that, he told police that early on. You're going to hear from Carla Aguirre. She's going to talk about those admissions that the defendant made and a description of how things went down that also correlate with what Sam had said. And she's going to talk about that road trip and that flight to San Antonio to try to get the hell out of here and flee for his crime. You're going to hear from the firearm and tool marks expert, our ballistics expert, Jill Prather. She's going to talk about how she did the testing on these items, on these casings, and how they were a match. She's He's going to talk specifically about how specific guns have specific tool marks that are exclusive to those types of weapons and how these two matched up that way. She'll also talk about the projectile that was extracted from Jackie V. Hill's brain that also correlated with these casings. And you're going to hear some jail calls from Luis Talamantes-Romero. They'll be translated, so you'll have to rely upon the translation, but essentially they're admissions, which is what's important here. And we're going to ask you, because these pieces of evidence correlate and corroborate, and specifically because the evidence will show that they are independent sources of information. That is, as I said before, Sam doesn't know Isaac. Isaac doesn't know Sam. Sam doesn't know Carla. Carla doesn't know Sam. Isaac and Carla didn't even talk. You'll hear how that sort of relationship, if you want to call that, plays out. They're independent sources of information that corroborate with one another, which give them credibility, and that's how the evidence is going to play out here, ladies and gentlemen. Also corroborated by those firearms and tool marks. At the end of the day, we're going to ask you to find him guilty of first-degree murder, felony murder, aggravated burglary, kidnapping, conspiracy, and larceny. Thank you.
Opening statement, Ms. Reinhardt? Yes.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for paying attention, and thank you for being willing to serve as jurors in this case. There's actually two aspects to this case, and Mr. Duran has shown what the state is going to present with respect to the charges filed in this case. But there's another aspect to this case, and that is the police investigation of this case. And what you will find, and I believe as the law enforcement witnesses are called, you will learn that there are a number of other people who were investigated and interviewed about this crime and about the killing of Jackie V. Hill, who admitted to having done this crime, that were later just discarded because the laser focus was on Luis Talamantes. What the evidence, I believe, will show, ladies and gentlemen, is that early on in the case, two detectives, the chief case detectives in this matter, Mr. Mike Luna and Mr. Jose Lucero, both detectives, began to investigate this case and went to the scene of the crime and began interviewing Mr. V. Hill and getting as much information as they could. But they found is that they went to yet another person who gave them a tip that they thought was connected to the news coverage of this crime and shooting of Jackie V. Hill. And that was a Miss Alexis Martinez. And she had been seeing a gentleman by the name of Thomas Starvos. And he had sent her some texts around the same dates as when this happened in November of 2019. And she contacted police and told the police, I'm really concerned about this because my boyfriend has been texting me messages that I think may have to do with the killing of Jackie V. Hill. Specifically, he said,
Judge, may we refer to this?
You may. So, to the jury and to the individuals in the courtroom, the lawyers will now approach the bench so that we may discuss some matters outside of your hearing. It is the lawyer's duty to offer evidence they believe proper and to object to evidence they believe improper. Y'all are so fast. It is my duty to decide what evidence will finally be admitted for your consideration. It may be necessary for us to confer about this or other matters from time to time during the trial. You must not speculate about what we are discussing. And while we are doing this, I will be playing the bench conference music. It's not necessarily music, it's more a noise machine. And so just maybe get used to it. All right.
So the first bench conference here of proceedings this morning happening now. We typically try not to show the bench conferences. A lot of judges get really particular about just a camera being aimed at them while this private discussion is going on. So usually we try to cut off of that, but a lot of times it is up to the judge's discretion as to how much of a deal that is. You just heard prosecutors' opening statement forecasting many of the witnesses they plan to call. It sounds like we will hear from Sam V. Hill, the widower of Jackie V. Hill, who called 911. You heard that 911 call of him discovering his wife, who had been shot in the head in the front of her car as she was sitting in the driver's seat, getting ready to go to the gym on November 19th, 2019. Jackie V. Hill in that picture right there. Luis Talamantes-Romero, as described by the prosecution, was essentially out with a friend, joyriding around, up to no good, as was described by the Deputy Attorney General, John Duran, when all of this happened. Looks like we're back on the record here in court.
So there were other police leads that the law enforcement investigated in this case. And there were two other individuals who basically made admissions that they were involved with this crime. One I've already mentioned, the other is Zachary Barranca. And what will be important for you folks to understand is that this investigation became laser focused upon Mr. Talamantes, and that the evidence we will attempt to show you, was catered to Mr. Talamantes and the other potential suspects in this case were ignored by the initial law enforcement people that were involved in the case, Officer Luna and Officer Lucero. We submit that there was, and you're going to, I think, see this through the police testimony, is that there was various investigations that took place that were never followed through, and that there were people that were connected with evidence to this case, potential suspects that were never followed through likewise. And so we'd ask you to just keep an open mind, there is some compelling evidence in this case, that is true, but that evidence was collected by officers that may or may not even appear before you in this trial, and that is of concern to the defense. So I just ask you to keep an open mind. Thank you.